What's going on, Blerdverse, and welcome back to another episode of For the Blurcher, where we gather nerds and blurs alike every week to break down your favorite movies, shows, and all. Blah, blah. I told you I was going to mess this up. I
It's
told
been
you
a
I was
while.
going to mess this up. It has
It's
been
been a
a
month
while,
and
but
a
we
half,
are.
man.
It has been a month and a half. We've been going for a minute, so excuse the mess up. You know, it is what it is. You don't be on air like that, so you forget your muscle memory and tongue just goes away. But anyway, welcome back to another episode of For the Blurcher, where we gather all nerds and blurs alike every week to break down your favorite movies and shows all the way down. My name is RJ, and tonight I'm joined by my usual FTB crew, Jay and Trey. What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
Hey, what is going on? We are here, ready for another episode.
Yeah, we definitely got a lot to dive into. Joining us, as usual, we have fan favorites and friends of the show, Monique and Cam from Blerd Up. What's going on, guys?
Hey fellas,
Hey.
missed y'all.
Right, I missed you guys. We usually have you guys on a lot, and I know I missed you too, Shayna. We FTB gang, you know we in the building. But I really, miss doing this with you guys every week, and I'm glad we're back. We got another 6 weeks ahead of us. So without, I guess, further ado, let's jump into episode one of Loki's episode one of Disney Plus's Loki, Glorious Purpose. This episode had a lot of kind of like backstory and a lot of character building and exposition that we don't really get, which is something that I do appreciate about the Disney Plus shows. We get kind of more filler in between the movies rather than just, having to pick up where, the last one we left off, and then we have to kind of mentally fill in the gaps. So one thing I noticed about the Disney Plus shows is we do get a lot of that, and Loki is no different. So let's go ahead and jump into like the opening scene where we kind of have a flashback of Loki when he did take the Tesseract in Endgame and he escaped. And we kind of see him in the desert. He's trying to figure out where he is. And, he announces himself as, Loki, future king of Asgard or whatever. And then the Time Variance Authority shows up and arrests him for crimes against the sacred timeline. And we end up learning what the sacred timeline is a little later on, a little later on. Damn, say it's been a minute. A little later on, and Agent B. I'm about to say B16 or B316 from Damn Scandal.
B15.
Ruby from Damn.
I think it is
from
B15.
Lovecraft Country.
It's B15.
It's B15.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Agent B15 or whatever. She smacks the shit out of Loki, and she's just like, yeah, you're moving at 1/16 the speed, but you feel all the pain in real time. She collars him, and they take them back to they take him back to the TVA prison where Loki is processed in his, uniform. And, so let's talk about this whole scene where we that whole sequence where we see him going and he's being processed and he has to verify everything he's ever said, which I feel like, does Loki not talk a lot? Because I feel like you've been around for quite some time and you only had that much of a stack of paper. He had to confirm he wasn't a robot. Then we get to see that they explain the multiverse and the timekeepers and hinted at the multiverse of madness. So I guess, let's just go ahead and dive into that whole scene. So I think that like I said earlier, what I love about Disney Plus shows is we really get to dive deeper into the character itself. And this whole episode to me was kind of us understanding Loki better as a character. And I feel like this helped explain just how deep the Marvel universe is and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is. So what did you guys think of this whole first sequence with Loki, escaping and then being taken to TVA? Or we'll start with our guests first. What did you guys think?
I thought it was a good refresher because, the Loki that we got in Thor Ragnarok and Endgame is a very different Loki than we had back in, the first Avengers, 2012. So I think it was kind of more like a refresher of to say, okay, this is where Loki, I want to say started, but really ended because he was caught by the Avengers. So it was showing us, okay, this is where Loki came from, taking us through all this stuff he was doing through the TVA is like, okay, this is how he is now. This is how his personality is now. And then they actually even go back through the timeline to show us like, okay, these are all the things you've done in the past. But I think it was like a really nice refresher even for people who aren't familiar with other Marvel, MCU movies or, TV shows to show, okay, this Loki is immature Loki. He still wants to lead and kill people and stuff like that. This isn't the Loki you saw last time, basically.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really good that they kind of took us through all of that and showed us all of that, just to say, okay, from here on, you're probably going to see a different Loki. So we just want to remind you where he was back then, and then we'll keep on pressing.
Yeah, it definitely was a good refresher. And yeah, I agree with all of that. I feel like it definitely helps us kind of take a look back and understand where we're at, and as far as the timeline of the MCU. Because if I'm being fully transparent, time travel, movies, television shows really just like fuck with my head, and I never know where we're at. So I appreciated the fact that we did get this. Okay, this is where we were last time, and now we're on like kind of a different alternate timeline sort of thing. So, what'd you think of all that first sequence, Cam?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. The refresher, just seeing it from a different angle. But for me, it kind of really set the tone of what we are going to expect, because there's so many things you can do with time travel, right?
Yeah.
And most people don't necessarily do it right. So I felt like this was Marvel's way of kind of setting the tone. All right, this is what we're looking to do, because it was totally, what's the Christmas movie?
Christmas
I can't
Carol?
remember. Christmas Carol, I can't remember, but it's basically like, hey, dickhead, this is your life.
Oh, Christmas Carol, yeah.
It's
I
for
was about
a
to say
Wonderful
Die Hard.
You know,
It's considered a Christmas film, though.
it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, FTB did a
My
video
favorite
on
Christmas
this.
movie.
We did a video on it.
Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. But it definitely set the tone for me, because then it also kind of puts in your head like, hey, there's things that 2012 Loki is going to see that he hasn't done yet. How's he going to react to that? And we'll probably get into it a little bit later. So it just set the episode up nicely, and it kind of got a lot of the fluff out of the way this episode. So I'm just curious to see with part 2 how quick it's just going to jump into it. And I think it's going to jump into it pretty quickly. So
yeah, that's a good point you made, that they got a lot of the fluff out of the way, which is kind of one critique I had about WandaVision. I felt like there was a lot of setup, and we did get some payoff, but I felt like we could have gotten more payoff had they not kind of stretched up that setting up of the world. So, and also I like the point that you made that 2012 Loki hasn't seen a lot of this stuff that he's done just yet. And like I said, we will get into it later on, but yeah, this definitely was a good setup for the Loki universe and the TVA. I can't wait to see what happens going forward. So what did you guys think? Trey, we'll start with you. What did you think of this whole first sequence with Loki escaping and being captured and brought into the TVA?
Man, the whole sequence, I thought it was really cool, because you can just kind of tell that Loki doesn't really know where he is. He starts like speaking to people, and then I think they're speaking Mongolian. He's like, what kind of language is that? And he's just kind of confused. And when, what's her name? B13?
B15.
Isn't B13 like a vitamin shot? Oh, B12.
Hit him with that stick. I almost lost it, because it hit him in slow-mo, and I was like, this is pretty cool. And then it just kept going in slow-mo, and then she walked on the screen. I was like, that is hilarious. That is that's the way to bring everyone in on crimes. Just hit him with the slow-mo stick, and then do that. That's all we'll ever need. That's all we'll ever need in life. But I thought it was really cool, the whole sequence of them going through, signing everything that he said. I said this in the pre-show, but I was like, is this what it's like to die? Like, you just got to confirm that in life? Like, it just kind of blew my mind. But seeing that whole thing, I thought it was really cool. And honestly, I'm just excited to see more of this show, because we honestly we got like a lot of stuff dropped onto us, but also not a lot happened in the show.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's funny you say that. Like, is this happening when we die? Like, if I was Loki, I would say, okay, I need some time to read this, because I don't know where I'm going to go after I sign this. Am I going up or am I going down? So let me just take a little bit more time to read this, just to make sure and verify I said what I said. You're about to send me a hello for a signature, and then because I didn't read that. What if I didn't say that? But yeah, I agree with those points, and I like how you pointed out that the comedy in this one. I did genuinely laugh a couple of times, which is rare for me when it comes to like Marvel stuff, because I think sometimes they put it in at the stupidest times and it's just not called for. But I felt like the comedy in this one, the jokes to me landed in that kind of weird, quirky, dry, low-key kind of humor way. So I enjoyed the comedy in this one for sure. Yeah.
Also, I thought it was funny that everyone that worked in the TVA just kind of seemed like they really did not want to work in the TVA. Like they were just get it over with. We do this every day. Also, hilarious. I don't know if we talked about it yet. They vaporized old dude just for not having his ticket.
They wasn't playing no games in TSTVA. Zap when he's gone. What about you, Jay? What you think?
I love this whole episode, man. Just from beginning to end. That's just for the most part, y'all cleared up everything that I was gonna say. I think it's just just that nostalgia of we're getting the Avengers back. But it's gonna be a different team this time, and also to me, what's scary is the fact that the Loki right now that we're seeing is still a Loki from Avengers. So it's not like this happened like 20 years ago. This happened like right now. Yeah. So I mean, like, and still anything can change, and he can turn sadistic and still go back to his way and the person he's supposed to be. But maybe the timeline, which we'll get into in a little bit, might like let him see his future in a different way, so they can prevent him from trying to be that evil person that he's supposed to be. But we'll talk about that a little bit. But I liked it though.
Definitely, for sure. Yeah, it's. I want to address this. It seems. I wonder how they pick people to work in TVA, because it seems like a toxic work environment. And then, so if it gets too toxic and you have to leave, how do you put in a 2 weeks notice? Because time moves differently there. So it's like, do you put in one, or do you just say I'm out?
You get the same thing as the guy who didn't have the ticket.
Look at it this way. This whole agency is ruled by compliance. There really is no deviation here. So it being toxic, they're probably just like, it is what it is, man.
I mean, that guy just said he always was. He said he was born behind the desk.
Mm-hmm. I was dying at the fact that Loki wasn't about to get the ticket, and then we saw a dude get vaporized. He was like,
Loki ain't stupid, man. Like, he ain't dumb.
He ain't dumb. He ain't dumb.
So you gotta have your ticket, man. And
when,
you said what, Trey?
I was wondering about that too when dude said he was born behind the desk. And I was like, is that how everyone here works? Like they're just born in the TVA, or like do they pick people from timelines and they're just like, yeah, you're not useful in this timeline, you come work for us, or something like that? Or are they just born there and just don't know about anything else?
I am kind of curious about the people who work at the TVA, because going back to the scenes with Casey, and I'm probably sure we'll talk about it in, during this, live, but he was like, he didn't even know what a fish was, basically. I mean,
that was funny.
So I'm pretty sure it sounds like they're either a lot sheltered there at the TVA, like they're not really allowed to do other things other than to work at their desk. So I'm actually really interested to see if they are going to explore who those people actually are at the TVA. Are they variants who they were just like, yo?
Yeah, because think about it. He probably came from a timeline that he's not supposed to exist in any timeline. So they probably just kept him there. Like, we get behind on paperwork, set him up.
Shayna said they snatching babies and saying, you work here.
And honestly, to back you up off that, Mo and Cam, I think that, from what I know in the comic, it's just that, the TVA, they're faceless characters. They had like masks on, they didn't show their faces. So there might be like a little twist to that. Like they might be working for another secret organization, or they might be just doing something constructively to the point they don't want their faces to get noticed in case, the universe gets messed up and it's because it's their fault. I don't know, but
the robots.
Or the robot.
That's a good point, because he did mention like going through that scanner. about, you know, if your robot is going to melt your face or whatever. So hey, you never know.
Top
Yep.
3. Wasn't that one of the top 3?
Yep, robots, aliens, and wizards, man.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, go ahead. Okay, Marvel, continuity.
We'll see.
Will have me
Like,
cracking
just
up
how
too.
bad do you have to fuck up to be pulled out of your timeline? Like, he even said it. He was like, you know, I guess he tried to blame the Avengers. Unless I guess we'll go to the trial. I'll let you go ahead, Jay, and go to that and talk about the trial a little bit. Or Trader, you want to talk about the trial?
I want to talk about Loki and Agent Mobius and their little scene because I got some stuff to say.
All right. So you want to take the trial, Jay? Or you want me to take it?
You can go ahead and take it, actually, if you want to.
Sure, why not? We're here. Let's go ahead and get into it. So Loki goes to trial, and he doesn't want to plead guilty. You know, he kind of tries to blame the Avengers for violating the timeline, and the judge is like, nah, the Avengers did what they were supposed to do. You know, and that's why I said earlier, how bad do you have to mess up the timeline to be pulled out of your timeline? And so Loki is a Karen, and he wants to speak to the manager of time. And, you know, he's denied, you know, trying to speak to the manager of time. And, you know, he tries to do this thing where he tries to use his magic to get out, and they're looking at him like it doesn't work here. He puffs up and he tries to smoke out, and it doesn't work. Which I don't understand. Like, how stupid are you? Do you think that they didn't plan for that? But it doesn't work because magic does not exist there, and he's sentenced to be reset, whatever that means. I'm pretty sure that means he's going to be like murdered or put down or whatever you call it. So they sentence him, and then Agent Mobius, you know, pleads with the judge to kind of release Loki into his custody for some reason. And then, you know, he takes Loki to his office or to the little room, and they end up, you know, before they go to the room, we get a beautiful shot of the TVA. And he's like, yeah, you sure this isn't magic or whatever? And it looks so futuristic, beautiful, clean, you know. So yeah, that courtroom scene to me just was funny because you can kind of see like Loki still doesn't really believe that this is happening to him. He doesn't know where he's at. And so that's kind of what happened in the courtroom scene. And like I said, not a lot happened this episode. We kind of just got to see more of Loki being Loki with his shenanigans, mischief, and, you know, etc. and stuff like that. But did anything stand out to you guys in this courtroom scene? Because like I said, I really don't have any questions for this because everything was like really self-explanatory this episode. So Jay, Trey, y'all got anything you want to add about this courtroom scene?
Yeah. So when he tried to do his powers, that really made me laugh because it reminded me of Thor in Ragnarok when he was like, "I'm the god of thunder." And then
Yeah.
sparkles. Nothing. But that really got me cracking up. And also, before Loki gets to this trial, we get a glance at Agent Mobius, and he's like doing his investigative little thing. Investigating some kind of murder, which later, I mean, we'll talk about it later, so I won't mention it right now, but he's trying to figure out how this is happening, where it's happening, and then he sees this little girl and he's like, "Who did this?" And the little girl points to a picture, and it's the picture of a devil. So immediately I was like, Mephisto confirmed.
We've been waiting.
That we've been waiting for it. So I'm kind of hoping that's what is going down. But yeah, I just thought that the whole court scene was funny because he was like, "I plead guilty to this, this, and this, but not this.
Yeah.
Guilty to being super dope and a cool individual, but not." But yeah,
yeah. Jay, what'd you think of this whole trial scene and just Loki being Loki in general?
So this scene to me what stood out, you know, besides him, like I thought Trey said that perfectly about, you know, kind of like a secondary scene of what we've seen before, you know, with Thor saying, "I'm the god of thunder," and like, you know, how Loki said kneel, and he would like didn't take him serious, but then he had to make himself serious, and now it's like he doesn't have that power. It's like, you know, the it's like the guy from the Lord of the Rings. It's like, you have no power. So it's kind of like Loki's always gonna fail more than he succeeds, and
sure.
he's gonna. I think this is the show where he's gonna finally understand that. Besides being, you know, that Asgardian hero, or I mean that Asgardian villain that supposedly is supposed to like be this god, but he's not. And this scene also, if you didn't notice the three heads in the back, I mean, like the statue.
Yeah.
It's, you know, people are talking about that instead of saying, oh, it's like eternity and infinity and stuff. But I think that that's not the case. I think that's Kang the Conqueror's face in the back, I want to say. Because if you look at it closely, it really is. At first, I was like, is that Apocalypse? I was like, but that wouldn't make sense. And then I was like, okay, other person, because they mentioned that in Quantumania. So I thought that was really interesting. I don't know what they're going to do about that. I don't really know a whole lot of how that would mix into the comics with this. Yeah. And the last thing I would say is Judge Renslayer, that you guys saw at the podium, talking to everyone. They're talking to Loki and saying, you know, you're being set on trial. She's actually like a bad MF. So I mean, because she's in the comics, she's known as Terminatrix, and she'll probably, like, if you guys see in the trailer, she might get some scenes where she's gonna turn to that, you know, so-called vigilante. So I'm excited to see that. So
yeah, for sure. Mo, Cam.
I'm totally with Jake. Like I didn't notice it until the very end when they were showing in the credits the three little heads that were behind Ravonna Renslayer. But when I saw it, I was like, oh, is that Kang the Conqueror? Because again, he is supposed to be showing up in Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, I think it's called. And as well, Ravonna Renslayer is actually supposed to be a lover of Kang's. So I know there's some theories going around now. I just said Kang's like that's his Kang. Like I know him. Kang the
First name basis.
Yeah, I know Kang on the block.
Yeah, he was over here last night.
Came from the block.
But she is a lover of Kang the Conqueror. So that's why I got really giddy and excited when I saw her, first of all. And then second, when I noticed the statue in the back that looked like Kang, I was like, oh, we're going to get Jonathan Majors in this, please. But I should learn not to get my hopes up with these shows. Second thing, though, I want to point out, though, because I was so, like, I don't know about you guys, I was just so proud of my Black women, Miss Gugu Mathara and Miss Wanumi Masako, who, like, in this scene where Loki was trying to like grab his little blades and like bring him in, Ravonna was like, what's he doing? Girl, he's trying to pull in his blade. No, magic don't work here, Negro. That was my girl. So I'm just so happy for them. But yeah, I thought there were some interesting little things, at least for me, in that Loki trial scene.
Yeah.
It makes me happy seeing a lot of Black women being represented more, especially not just movies, but in superhero movies, because there's not a lot of Black women to look up to right now. So yeah, I think that I love both of the roles that they're in. I think that there's going to be a lot more to both of them, and yeah, I just love it. So sorry, go ahead, Cam.
I'm basically going to echo that. Like the amount of swag between those two women was like crazy, you know, in that scene. So I was just here for that because that was beautiful for me to see that they're not in throwaway parts. You can tell, you know. So that was that. Looking in the background, though, from the beginning of the episode up into this episode, I was getting a lot of information. I'm archiving it for later. Like Shayna said, did you guys see the scroll kind of wandering around, noticing how they're making their way into more and more properties, setting up Secret Invasion? So I was like, oh, that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see what's going on there. But even like the posters in the background, if you go back and look at them, they're giving stuff away about the plot already, what's going to happen. This Time Variance Authority, and I'll save more of it for predictions, but I think this is probably this episode and next episode will probably be the most stable we're going to see this department or this agency look. think is about to rip apart. But
Oh, yeah.
overall, with that scene, I also like the fact, which is what they did with this episode. They're kind of taking the facade of who Loki is and breaking him down, because we've never got this chance to see who he is outside of the main cast here. So now we're starting to see through a lot of his shenanigans. Mo said during a reaction, like, yo, this dude be bullshitting for real. He just be saying stuff to get out. And, you know, and it kind of goes back to how he referred to himself as like a mischievous little scamp.
Yeah.
You're starting to kind of see through it. Dude, you're kind of a loser. Like, you know, it's cute, it's funny, it makes us laugh, but we're like, well, you're kind of a loser.
Yeah,
like that, it's like that friend you had to be like, I'm gonna pay you back. I just need to hold something for right now.
Right.
Like, just let me hold something. I'm gonna pay you back next week. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
And then you hit him with like, I don't have any cash on me right now. That's wow.
You got 350.
God.
It's like the people that peaked in high school that try to contact you out of the blue to join an MLM, and it's like, bro, you're a loser. Like, chill out.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about Mobius. I know, Trey, you want to talk a little bit more about what's going on between these two and their chemistry. So we'll talk a little bit about their chemistry as well. But Mobius pretty much is specialized in pursuit of dangerous variants, and he tells Loki that he's the pussycat of the dangerous variants. And he asks him what he plans to do when he gets back, and Loki starts to or states the plan that he becomes the king of Midgard. You know, he's been saying that for a very, very long time. And that's been the whole goal of this thing ever since the storyline. He asked him why someone with so much range just wants to, you know, rule and all that. And Mobius shows like Loki a highlight reel of him, like, you know, with all like the videos and stuff of his life and just like the events in the past and stuff. And it's just I'll say this, you know, you see that clip of Loki when he's on the plane telling the flight attendant he has a bomb and all that, and Mobius wants to understand why Loki does that, and Loki states in it's an illusion or something that the TVA is using to like set up and all that, you know, and I just feel like it's just, for me, like Loki's always going to be mischievous and like, you know, just a snake. No matter what he does, he may do stuff for good for a while, but he always does it for his benefit. Because at the end of the scene, Loki, you know, he ends up pickpocketing Mobius after, you know, he shows him all that stuff, because he keeps saying like, you know, why do you like hurting people? Why do you like hurting people? And he's like, what are you talking about, man? Like, I don't like hurting people. And then Loki escapes, and he, you know, eventually gets the collar off and puts it on
B-15.
Yeah, B-15. Excuse me.
This is called Ruby.
Yeah. And this whole scene is just, you know, him actually realizing that like he can't really go anywhere. But I want you guys to elaborate on that a little more as far as like with the Infinity Stones that we saw, and what you guys think on that. But also, I want you to talk about, my question is, what I'm saying is, what do you guys think about this whole scene? And do you think that Loki knows that he's not going anywhere because of like the security that he's, you know, being locked down on? I'm gonna throw this one to Trey first, because you wanted to talk about it.
So I really like this whole like half of the show, really. I think we start to get, I think the part when Loki gets back into the room is when we get literally all of like Loki's character development that he got in the previous movies. We get in this like 5 minutes that he's back in that room. But I think that it honestly got kind of like deep when Mobius was questioning Loki about, you know, what are you gonna do when we send you back? What are you gonna do? Then he's like, I'm gonna rule everything. And then Owen Wilson's like, well, why? What are you gonna do then? And then it just kind of made me think, like, why do people rule everything? You know, it's because once you rule everything, what are you gonna do next? You know, it just kind of made me think about that. I thought that was deep. Yeah, I thought the whole, because he was basically in a prison without being in a prison. The moment he walks away, they did his little time spin thing, and he was back in the same spot that he was. So I thought that was really a cool, interesting thing that he did. And also, when he escaped, had me cracking up. And Wade pointed out the Scream reference. I'm gonna gut you like a fish, Casey. That made me laugh because I didn't even realize that was from Scream. But I was also like, wow, this is getting really violent. MCU like a fish. That just had me cracking up. And then he was just like, oh yeah, the Infinity Stones, they're paperweights. They're nothing here. And then Loki just kind of like looks around, and it's like a self-realization moment that he really just is so insignificant where he is right now. Like these people don't care about him. His magic doesn't work. Infinity Stones are nothing. And I thought that was just a cool self-realization as he's looking around. He's like, is this the greatest power in the universe? And Casey's in the back like, but that whole part pretty dope. Pretty dope.
I agree. Yeah. And I think in my opinion, he did begin to realize, what is going to happen, or he can, change his life, or he might have to like start realizing this stuff because you can't go back now. You try to take out New York. You kill a lot of people that day, I'm sure. So, but what about you, RJ? What you think, man? What do you think about this?
I think this probably was the best part of the whole episode for me, was the whole Loki kind of doing them doing a "this is your life" and showing him taking all of his L's throughout his whole life. Could you imagine every awkward, dorky, loser thing you did in middle school, and they're like playing it on the screen every time you took a L? Like here's you losing in New York, Loki. Here's you losing here. And I don't know, it was just funny to me that he had to literally sit there and deal with that. But what I also like is, I don't know who said it earlier, this is the most character development we've gotten from Loki. And they really dug deep, and we got to understand why it is that he does what he does. And I think that was the whole point of him bringing him into that room to kind of interview him, to break him down and figure out, psychologically, if we were to let you back, what would be the consequences of it. And it also kind of helps you kind of discover, who you are. Like, remember when Stewie Griffin, when he first came on the scene, he's, I'm going to kill my mom. He was very hell-bent on killing Lois, but over time, with Family Guy, I want to say it was in like the movie or whatever, he kind of abandoned his quest for world domination and, to kill his mom and things like that, because he was learning who he really was and things like, and I feel like that's kind of what Loki is doing, rule the world and, do all this other stuff, but it's really a front, for something else. And when he says he doesn't enjoy hurting people, he does it because he's had to, or he has to, or whatever. And he states it's part of an illusion, a cruel, elaborate trick to conjure by the weak to inspire fear, and it's a play for control. So, the mischief that, and I think at one point he said, like, you really don't even do anything. You just start shit and then you disappear. He kind of called Loki out on being a half-ass villain. And, from what we've seen, he never follows through. He just never gets the dub in the end. So what I like about this whole scene was it really showed that Loki does have layers. And I did enjoy the scene with the Infinity Stones just casually in somebody's junk drawer at their desk. I thought that was hilarious to me that, we've had a whole set of movies, a whole phase of movies based around these stones. And in this part of wherever the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're literally sitting in a drawer, collecting dust, like a paperclip or something like that. And I think, to me, when Loki realized that the Infinity Stones don't have any power, when he tried to disappear and he was brought right back, when his powers didn't work, I think that he's really trying to, we cannot admit that Mo might feel a little different. No, but Mo, you didn't like the second Thor movie, like the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think that Loki is coming to the acceptance that he's not going nowhere anytime soon. And I think that, he's starting to realize that this is it for me.
Yeah, no, to back you up off that real quick before I get to Mo and Cam, I think that, you have to show people, show them, visually what they've done, that causes them to, do all the things that they do. And you, like you said, RJ, psychologically, you have to dig into their mind, because if I told Cam, oh yeah, someone's gonna come take your J's or something like that, Cam would look at me and be like, ain't nobody gonna take my J's. But if Cam saw someone actually taking his J's, he'd be like, oh hell no, this is not gonna happen. No. So I think that you have to feel that in order to see it, because it's one thing saying it versus seeing it, And Loki kind of felt that pain, and I think that it kind of is making him realize that he needs to either grow up or just go a different route. But
Yeah.
what do you think, Cam? What do you think of this whole scene, and what do you think about Loki, and even the scene with seeing his mom too? What you think about that?
Mobius is basically trying to flip him. Basically, that's all he's doing. He's flipping him, prepping him because they need him to do something. That's number one. The best way to do that is to pick up on the weakness. What's Loki's weakness? He has a more famous older brother, right?
Yeah.
So you tear him down, get him to a weak point, because you can use whatever his skill set is to help bring down whatever the other variant is. So I thought this scene was interesting, like Trace said, because it did kind of condense a lot of his character arc from what we've seen from the movies into just this 5-minute scene, and make him realize not that you're a loser, but you have a very specific position in this scheme of events. And the way that translated to Loki, what I think he heard is, well, shit, you're right. I don't have any power anywhere else. This seems like where the power is. So let me stick here. Let me figure out what's going on here. And then, because he's still mischievous, he's still a trickster. Exactly. He's still going to be out for himself. Now he's going to figure out the lay of land of what he has access to with the TVA.
Exactly.
He might help. He's going to help in his own little way, but at the end of the day, this is going to give him some time to think. Well, all right, well, if ruling's out of the question, what else do I have access to? What else can I do with all that I know now? So
exactly, because Loki takes advantage of that. He's going to take advantage of the environment that he's in, and then he's going to use that. He's like, oh yeah, I played a little game, but I'm really doing this. So
it's a moment. It's a moment for him. So.
Yeah. I think he's going to find a way to get what he wants in the end. He always does. The only time, even when he died in Endgame, I think part of him was like, no, Loki's not dead. He'll find a way. But as we can see, that was the end of his reel. When his neck snapped and then the tape stopped. Yeah. So I don't think that's that. He's actually dead.
Yeah. But Mo, what you think about this whole scene, everything? What are your thoughts?
I pretty much agree with everybody, especially what Cam was saying in terms of, okay, I think Loki got to a point where he was like, all right, I'm going to play this game until I can figure a way out of here. And he tried to do everything he could in terms of trying to get out of the TVA, trying to call on his blades, trying to disappear, trying to get to the Infinity Stones. And I think once he got to a point where he realized none of that stuff is going to work here, and that the TVA is even more powerful than the Infinity Stones, I think he was at a turning point where he was like, because again, I think he's mischievous. He's always going to try to figure out a way to get on top. So I think he was like, well, oh, dang, now I got to change my whole game plan. So let me figure this out. Let me go ahead and play along with Mobius. Let me go ahead and do what they need me to do. And while I'm doing that, figure out how I can take all this for myself.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think we're all on that same page. It's just we all know that still Loki is wherever he's at. We don't even know where the hell he's at. Mm-hmm. We don't even know where this place is. It could be in space. It could be on a ship. It could be on a building. Who knows? Be on the ground. So, I mean, that's another part where it's this place has really tight security wherever it is. So that's another prediction or something that we're curious about in the future. To see if it might bring it back to if he might go back to the same place he was, or he might end up, going a different timeline and messing that up or something.
Yeah.
And then the TVA has to go get him again, because I'm hearing that it's confirmed. I guess there's going to be more than one season of Loki. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I'm reading.
Okay, so then we in for a wild ride. I mean, I'm excited.
Yeah, your mic is going in and out though, but we can hear you, but your mic got really low.
Oh, did it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. But you made a good point. We don't know where he is, but also we don't know when he is either. He's been removed. That time works differently, so we don't know where, when. We don't know how. We don't know anything about. I keep wanting to say TSA. We don't know anything about TVA. So I'm looking forward to just diving more into that, because that really kind of sparks my curiosity. Just is there an application? Do you mess up and then you get pulled in? And I feel like if they're not giving you a choice, so are they forcing? Is this forced labor? Like TVA? I'm curious. I want to know. I want to know what happens. Does everybody get reset?
The alternative is to not exist. So
yeah, I think you should be happy that we are here and working. They seem
like stormtroopers to me, just clocking in and it's like, oh, I'm here.
I know 8 hours feels like a hell of a long time. Could you imagine just eternity? And it may not even be eternity, but it may just feel like eternity.
Yeah, absolutely. So TSA.
I'm not allowed to talk about TSA. I think I'm on one of their lists.
That's not a joke.
I mean, who knew a butterfly knife wasn't going to get through the X-ray machine? Who knew?
That is funny. Oh God, that's funny.
Hey, we gotta get Mo a fake ID now, y'all. We gotta help her.
Mo about to be walking across country from now on.
She's the new Agent Carter.
Yep.
Ma'am, you've been randomly selected.
Every single time now. Every single time.
You got to be at the airport 2 hours early now.
Somewhere secure so they won't be able to get you.
There was one more scene that happened at the end.
So,
the thing with the 2 men. So we say. No, okay.
Talk about
So the ending scene with the Minutemen head to a location, they see a figure standing in the distance who we were told, I guess, that it was Loki. Is it Loki? And he dropped the torch and set everybody on fire. So go ahead, Jay, explain that.
So I think it was Mobius, and Mobius said, you have to see something else, and he's like, who's that figure? And he's like, that's you. And then they went into that sequence, and it showed the TVA agents, and then they got burned in that field, and then the one dude got dragged away like he was in Jurassic Park or something. And after that, it was just someone in a hooded figure. And here's the thing, though. I guess he gains predictions now since kind of end, but
yeah,
a lot of people are saying, I don't know if Marvel will do this, but I could be wrong. Mephisto's still out there. But a lot of people are saying that it might be Lady Loki or another Loki in another future or past or another timeline. But let's talk about that, actually. Let's pass this one to Cam. What you think, man?
All right. So what we see from the agents is they all have this little tablet thing that shows them the timelines that they're there to reset, right? And once they get to a certain point, it's supposed to be like danger zone. I actually feel like I do think there are other variants of Loki, and I think they're from these these branch timelines that some of them were supposed to be reset. I think that some of them might have gotten away, might have got a piece of technology from the TVA and gotten away. They might be agents of some other agency or force out there. I actually feel Loki disappearing in 2012 is the thing that caused all this, though. And that's created these variants. So like you guys said, Lady Loki, Kid Loki, whatever else Loki. I think one of the posters I was looking at, or was it, I think it was the Miss Minutes commercial. There were like 5 variants of the guy who didn't go to work or started the war or whatever. There were 5 variants of them. So I think there's 5 variants of Loki that's in play here. And they're all here to basically destroy the timeline. Mark my words, 2 or 3 episodes, all this organization compliance we see is going off the rails. Is going to go off the rails.
That's what Loki does. He comes in and he turns shit upside down. So he's going to create some chaos and mischief.
Bringing him in also inadvertently does something as well. So I feel like this whole thing is going to rip apart. We know it is because we know the premise of some of the upcoming shows, but I think that this has a lot to do with it.
Yep. I think that's interesting, Candace, you brought that up. Because Marvel's just, and by this point, I don't really expect any cameos or anything, but I think that they're just going to, get to that point with all these references and stuff to where we're going to start seeing things unfold like that. And, especially with this time stuff, man, it's going to, this universe is a Marvel universe. So, I mean, it's big, and I don't know what we're going to expect in the next episode or anything like that, or as far as villains or what we're going to reference, but I think it's going to be something big still. I think it's going to, drive the story to the point where it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But, Mo, what are your thoughts on this last scene? What do you think that hooded figure is, and what do you think about this time stuff?
I'm kind of like RJ. Like sometimes these time, these shows and movies that deal like time, I get so confused sometimes. So I'm not going to comment on that because I'll just I'll confuse myself and then say something stupid. But I definitely think there's going to be a lot of Lokis that we see in this TV show. We already know that the Loki that's going around stealing tech is the person that's going around stealing tech is Loki. I kind of got this idea, and it's kind of weird and off the wall, but maybe Mobius has tried to do the same thing he's doing to Loki to several other Lokis, and it never works out. And that's how the Loki who's running around now has all this advanced tech. Maybe he stole it from the TVA, or there's other Lokis out there that have advanced tech as well that, before tried to steal it from the TVA. So maybe it was something where the TVA is like, oh, let's try another Loki to catch all the other Lokis.
Oh,
that's a good point.
Okay.
That's a good point, because remember how the theory is that some of these agents, or how people end up working there, they come from timelines that aren't supposed to exist. Mm-hmm. So what if they did try to employ another version of Loki to be a part of their team and they went AWOL?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mobius didn't do to that Loki what he's doing to that. And so maybe that's why he took a different approach to say, hey, wait a minute.
That's why it was so easy for him to break this Loki down, because he's done it a few times, maybe.
Oh, yeah, that could be.
Well, I think
it was light work. I mean, it wasn't hard for him to do.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I agree with both of you guys are saying. I think that's a good point, because if they do end up going back to these different timelines, which I think we will see, because we saw in the trailer and stuff, like the vote for Loki and stuff. There's a comic book on that for when Loki ran for president in another universe, and all that went haywire. But it's going to be interesting if they do bring all those Lokis together. I mean, I couldn't even imagine one of them not stabbing each other in the back. So I think that, Kid Loki would stab Loki in the back, and then girl Loki would stab the other Loki. So I think it would be a mess. But at the same time, I think that it might be beneficial to them, because they could all get something out of it. I mean, they're all Lokis. So, RJ, what you think, man? What do you think about this last part? And what are your thoughts? And who do you think that figure is?
I definitely think it's one of the Lokis. I feel like this is kind of the TVA's version of like their very own personal Groundhog Day, to where like shit, we messed up, didn't work, get another Loki. Shit, we messed up, didn't work, get another Loki. And I feel like they're at a point where they're trying to stop the madness timeline from kind of just being chaotic. And I feel like they've probably done everything they can possibly do, but now they're trying to say, well, we need to bring Loki in, like Mo said. I don't know, my predictions for this. I feel like whatever's going to happen is going to be a major catalyst for the things that pop off in the MCU, as far as, because we've done the robots, we've done the aliens and things like that. And we've kind of like dabbled in time travel. So I feel like whatever's going to happen with, Loki is going to be a catalyst for the rest of the MCU to kind of just bring in more of just, I guess, timeline chaos. We might see, I don't know, Shane, I keep trying to call this thing TSA. And but yeah, I don't really have any, solid predictions because it's just the first episode. I do think it was a good first episode. Like I said, it's not really a lot to talk about because we really only got, when you think about it, we got maybe 2 or 3 scenes, major scenes anyway in this episode, and it really was sort of like a breakdown of Loki's character, kind of breaking him down so we can probably build him back up later on. Definitely enjoyed the episode. But I do think this isn't going to be a slow burner like WandaVision was. I don't think it'll be as action-packed as Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I think Disney does this on purpose. They kind of give us different shows and different vibes and different pacing for the show. So I think that Falcon and Winter Soldier was very like, shit happens every episode. WandaVision was like, we're gonna drag this shit out to the end. Loki's probably gonna, what I'm hoping Loki's gonna be, is gonna be the type of show that kind of gives you breadcrumbs every episode. They'll give you something every episode, and not like how WandaVision did, where they, revealed Agatha was Agatha Harkness. Even though we thought it was Mephisto, like we knew there was gonna be a reveal, and we knew it was gonna be Agnes or Agatha. And when they did it, they were like, hey, great guys, right? And we're like, well, we knew that. We were hoping you would give us something bigger than that, but I guess. But to answer your question, I don't have any solid predictions. I do think that it was one of the Lokis, or, maybe a Loki who's close to the Loki we have now. Can't wait to see what happens, but I definitely did enjoy this episode. And but as far as predictions, I don't want to predict, or I don't know where this is going just yet.
I still think you bring up a great point, though. I'm gonna say this quick. I want my mic to keep cutting in and out. But I think there are different tones to each show. So I think that WandaVision was a love story. I think that Falcon and Winter Soldier was a story about social injustice. And I think this show, Loki, is about a galactic pioneer adventure, because it's going to open up the universe itself. And I think it's going to tie to everything in the timeline, obviously, and it might have to do with, like, opening up different portals and stuff. We might go to another portal in hell, deal with Mephisto, Dormammu, Nightmare. Who knows? But, I mean,
I'll put $1 in the Mephisto jar.
we all got those. We're not giving up on that, but we don't know. But I think, those 3. I think that was a good point, RJ. They do bring up different points as far as setting the tone for what the show is exactly going to be. And I think it's going to be a storytelling galactic adventure, and it's going to be really fun. We don't know what to expect. Trey, saving you for last, my man. What you think about all this? What do you think about that hooded figure and all this good stuff going on in this episode?
Man, so I agree with y'all. I think it's like a bunch of different Lokis. I think that, one Loki is the one stealing the technology, and I think the hooded one might have been, a different one from the one that's stealing the technology. Like maybe he's from a world where they're more like battle ready, or like a timeline where they're more battle ready or something like that. But I just thought that it was really cool that at the end he was just like, yeah, we're hunting you. And then Loki's just, what? But I'm just going to jump into my prediction. So what I think it's going to set up for, what I'm hoping it's going to set up for, is something kind of like Secret War, to where like the multiverse just kind of clashes in on itself, and then they have to reset certain things, and then we get new characters introduced and all of this. And I feel like this. I know I kind of said that about WandaVision too, but I feel like this would be the perfect way to kind of set that up, because they're literally in the place where they decide what the sacred timeline is going to be. So, and I feel like Loki is going to somehow mess up the sacred timeline to where secret wars could take place and mess up the whole multiverse.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't have too many predictions, but I do agree that something is going to get messed up in this next episode, because there's only 6 episodes in this season, right? I think that's how many there are. And even though the episodes say, oh yeah, they're 50 minutes long, it's like, well, even they're like 25 minutes. So I mean, I think that what they're going to do is, I agree with RJ. I don't think they're going to do that action-packed sequence, through every episode. I think they're going to just kind of guide us and be like, okay, just listen to what we're saying right now, but don't expect us to like pull out like a cameo out of our arsenal and just be like, oh yeah, this is what's going to happen now. Here's the focus. No, I think the focus is still going to be time, Loki, and the universe. So it's going to be really interesting to see what we're going to unfold. I mean, does anyone else have any other thoughts or last predictions on this episode? What do you guys think out of 10 on this first episode?
Well, I asked everybody in the chat to rate it 1 through 5.
Okay.
So if y'all want to give y'all 1 through 5 rating on the premiere of Loki, that'd be good. I'll let our guests go first. What would you guys rate Loki on a scale of 1 to 5, the first episode?
You go first, Cam.
I don't know. I'm gonna rate it. I'm gonna rate it a 3 for now, because I'm one of those people, I can't rate it until I see the next one. I guess I'll say
that's fair.
So I'm gonna rate it a 3 for now. There was stuff in here that just begs. It opened a lot of doors, like you said. I think it's gonna be focused a lot on time and the timelines here, but it's also probably going to be an opportunity to like retcon and fix some stuff.
Yeah,
I guess I would say there was a glimpse. I think one of the commenters talked about Peggy Carter being in the background. Was that her? We don't know, but I feel like there was some muddiness around Captain America and going back and living his best life. So I wouldn't put that past her to be the best secret keeper in the whole wide world, to where she probably had to deal with the TVA. So stuff like that, I feel, is probably what's going to happen here.
Okay.
But until I see more, you get a 3 for now. You get a 3.
Okay. It's fair. Mo?
Yeah, I actually was thinking 3 before I shot it over to Cam. I was thinking 3 because it set up everything nicely, showed us some stuff that we already knew, and showed us a little bit of new stuff. I'm ready to start jumping into the episodes where we are seeing a lot more stuff that, I mean, because this first episode was really like to set everything up, basically.
Yeah.
I want to start jumping into everything else that's going to be a part of this series. So I'll give it a 3 as well.
Okay. Fair. Trey, what do you give it?
I'm giving Loki a 4.2. I thought it was great, everything, honestly, I'm also very easily pleased with things, and it just kind of wowed me. There was so much knowledge that they just dropped on us, and so many doors are opened, and I'm just excited to see where it all goes from here, and I just can't wait for the next episode, honestly. That is just really dope.
Here, Harrison, what do you give it?
I'm gonna give it a 4 because it brought back that nostalgia of the Marvel magic for me, which is the first Avengers movie. So it was like after all of the Avengers movies, you got to see what happened exactly after all that. So it was really exciting. I mean, I know not like a whole lot happened, but still, I just I'm a Marvel fan, so
Yeah.
I'm like Trey. I'm easily pleased when I see stuff Marvel. I
Okay.
can't wait for the next episode.
I'll give it a 3.2 maybe, and I say that because I y'all know I love exposition. I love stories. I love backstory. I love setting up. I love world building. I felt like that's what it did. However, I can't give it a 4 only because I feel like nothing really eventful happened. They kind of just broke Loki down and then, gave us a little bit more character development. And I feel like for a debut of a new series, I felt like they could have went a little harder. But also, I agree with what Cam said. It's really hard to judge a first episode until you kind of see the rest of the next, like maybe 2, because was this episode a setup or something that's going to make the next episode better, or was it just a one-off, and then the next episode is going to kind of coast through or whatever, or ride the coattails on the premiere. So for me, I gotta give like maybe a 3.2 only because I felt like I needed more. Even when we were discussing the show, like it wasn't really eventful. It just, I feel like nothing happened. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier, Sam got his ass beat, the first episode. That was fun to watch. We got to see stuff like that. WandaVision had a great setup with a weird ass ending, so I didn't really kind of get that first episode feel from this. It was like, oh, okay, I've been kind of waiting for the show. I enjoyed it. It is what it is. But hopefully going forward, it'll be a little bit more exciting because I just, like I said, I just didn't really think it was like eventful. Yeah. So, but that's what I thought about it. So before we get out of here, guys, Mo, Cam, where can everybody find you guys at?
On all platforms at Blerd Up Reacts. Type it in, you'll find us.
And they have some great merch that they launched too. So I got a shirt. It's very comfortable. I've worn it a few times and I've washed it a few times. And it looks just as good as the first day I got it. So if you guys have time, head on over to Blerd Up Reacts and get some of their merch because it's quality stuff. Trey, where can we find you at?
Hey, you guys can get me on TikTok and Twitch at Spiderboy Trey. And y'all know the line. That's 2 Y's instead of a Y because I had to be different. You can get me on Instagram at Maximum or Spider. And y'all, I just launched my own little merch shop too. Just go to triggertraytees.com. I got some designs on there. I'm posting designs all the time, just as they flow through my head. So go check it out. And yeah.
And last but not least, the comic book guru himself, Hero Harrison. Where can we find you at, and what do you have going on, man?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter at Hero Harrison Talk. Same thing with TikTok. I have a couple podcasts coming up. Going to be talking about the cosmic universe, so people get more familiar with what's going on in this Marvel cinematic universe. And also, I'm in the progress of making my YouTube channel. So no set date yet, but in the progress of that too. I'm trying to catch up to Cam and Mo because they make me look bad out here because they got the nice t-shirts and I ain't got nothing. So I got to get something to the people. But yeah, that's what I got going on.
Cool. Everybody seems to be booked and busy. You can follow me across social media at the Avatar RAJ. Type it in, it comes up. It's me 9 times out of 10. With that being said, also don't forget to like this video, help us, get in the algorithm and things like that. Share it with your friends, comment. We love the interaction. We really enjoy these chats with you guys. We're happy to be back. We got 6 weeks worth of another Disney Plus show, and I can't wait to laugh, joke, cut up with y'all about these Disney Plus shows. With that being said, everybody's links are down below in the description. Don't forget to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Everybody have a good evening, and we will see you guys next week here at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Later days.